Good noon and welcome to BYJU'S exam prep channel dedicated to the success of you as a CAT aspirant, and where we keep on, of course, bringing in a lot of sessions, but even more importantly, we listen to you and bring sessions that you demand for the most. So of late, I've obviously been taking you through a lot of RC passages, quite a few of Para Jumbles, Para Summary, Para Completion, but then there have been these questions, there have been these concerns that, you still had some issues with Para Jumbles, and if you've noticed, we've increased that frequency. So a day before at 7, or was it yesterday? I don't even recall. A day before at 7, we had a dedicated session for Para Jumbles and as part of our crash course. And here I am once again with you working on Para Jumbles. So unlike the session a day before yesterday, I am going to cut down on my pace today. You and I will spend a little more time together reading the sentences, exploring the nuances, looking at the clues that are scattered around, provided you don't get those questions right, because if you keep getting all of those questions right, then I won't even need to do that. Okay, so for those of you who are new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. My name is Vikrant. I am your personal coach for all things related to language and communication. So before I proceed further, here is a thought for you to ponder over. I've actually seen a very microscopic example of this. I of late I have been trying to make every day of mine perfect, and what I've realized is that whenever I'm not able to make a particular day perfect, then at times it is because I slept rather late, quite late the previous night. So what I've come to realize is that the fate of the next day depends on the sleep that I take the night before. And this is a very specific example of this general trait that we have talked about here. The future starts today, not tomorrow. And that is because we are the ones who are creating that future constantly, all the time, through our actions, through our choices, through the way we direct our resources and our attentions. And at this note, you can alter your future positively in terms of your CAT preparation by going in for this All India Open Mock. The window opened on 27th of November. I hope by now some of you, hopefully all of you, have written it. In case you haven't, this is a reminder that you can register for this particular test, sit for it, and benchmark yourself against the best in the country and consistently. In fact, last year's data suggests that the actual percentiles that people get in the CAT exam are higher than what they get in BYJU'S exam prep mocks, which basically means that the level of competition that you face here is tougher than what you are likely to face in the actual mocks, which in itself is a huge validation for the test series. And open mocks are even more special because ideally, see, I want everybody who's preparing for the CAT to work with me. But then that's a utopian view. Of course, there are people who are studying on their own, studying at other different places, are competitors. But then open mock creates this opportunity where everybody can come together and sit for this exam and benchmark themselves against even those who are not exactly a part of the same ecosystem. So please make sure that you do sit for this test in case you haven't. So the topic for today is basically Para Jumbles. I'll not even bother with the directions. You guys already know the directions, right? So in Para Jumble questions, what do you get? You get 4 sentences and you are supposed to arrange them. But then, has it always been the case that the CAT has given us 4 sentences? Not really. Until 4 years ago, the examiners actually used 5 sentences. And if I go if I go to the distant past, I have seen questions where there were 5-sentence questions, but then one of the sentences was fixed and the other 4 were floating. I have seen sentences where the first and the sixth sentence, six sentence type, first and the sixth sentence was fixed and the middle four were floating. So all those varieties. So I think most of the questions that I've brought in for you today are going to have 5 sentences, and you need to arrange them, so that in a way increases the difficulty level a bit. Of course, a couple of them will also have 4 sentences, but to ease you into this, to make it easier for you to begin with, here is this first question where let us start with a fixed sentence. So I am giving you a paragraph where the opening sentence is already provided to you. You need to decide about the remaining 4 and their sequence. So go ahead, get to work on this, and we'll see. Kush is saying session on critical reasoning questions in RCs. Kush, every session that I take on RCs, almost invariably, I think I try to ensure that at least around 30-35% of the questions are definitely from reasoning, if not more. In fact, if you look at the average, on the whole, you would find that almost 40% of the questions that I've been using have been reasoning based questions. If you want me to do it in a dedicated way, we can. Let's see. Let me see if I can plan something. Ahan, let's talk about you later. Ahan, can you in the interim share the breakup of your score in different sections, and then hopefully I'd be able to give you something more meaningful? Okay, so Prasanna has shared his take on this particular question. Let's see what others say. Okay, so I have 2 answers. Okay, so let us connect some of the things. Let's look for some of the clues. Some work supports the Becker thesis and some appears to contradict it. Okay, and as with crime, it is equally inconclusive. Should have been a full stop here. Then but is always a clue. Regardless of the conclusion of any particular piece of work, it is hard to establish convincing connection between family changes and economic factors using conventional approaches. Okay. And then 4th starts with indeed. When do we use indeed? Just as with crime, an enormous academic literature exists on the validity of the pure economic approach to the evolution of family structures. So let's pick up one of these clues and talk about it, okay? What do we know about indeed? How and when are we supposed to use it? What do we know about it? So indeed as a word, if I look at it, can I say indeed is an adverb? This is what we know as a sentence adverb because it goes on to tell you something about the entire information that comes after it. So one of the meanings of indeed will be truly, in fact, in reality. So indeed is used for emphasis. It is used to confirm and amplify a previous statement. Right? So the key here is that most of the times when we use indeed, you can think of it as a transitional expression of continuation that confirms and amplifies the idea that came in earlier. Okay, so if I just look at this, what is indeed talking about? Just as with crime, an enormous academic literature exists on the validity of the pure economic approach to the evolution of family structures. So if I have to, and you know that the opening sentence is already fixed, so there has to be some other sentence that needs to come before 4. So let's just go through it one by one. Can 1 come before it? Some work supports the Becker thesis and some appears to contradict it. Nope. You need to have a similar idea, right? A similar idea that talks about economy, something to do with economics and family structure. Second, and as with crime, it is equally inconclusive. No, definitely not before 4. Third, regardless of the conclusion of any particular piece of work, it is hard to establish convincing connections between family changes and economic factors using conventional approaches. Now look at it, look at it. Third says it is hard to establish connection between these things, whereas fourth says a lot of literature exists to talk about connections between these two things. Are these similar? No, they are actually contradictory. So how would we justify the use of the word indeed? So what does that leave me with? That leaves me with the opening, the fixed sentence. So let's look at the fixed sentence. In America, highly educated women who are in stronger position in the labor market than less qualified ones have higher rates of marriage than other groups. So in that fixed sentence, we are talking about an economic factor and its connection with family. And this seems to suggest that economic factors enhance your probability of get married, which means that both of these go hand in hand, which is still similar to what fourth talks about. And that is why the only option that we have is to put 4 next to the fixed sentence. Otherwise, we'll not be able to justify the use of indeed. And then look at second, and as with crime, it is equally inconclusive. So you have this connection of crime. So notice, just as with crime, there is a lot of literature, and as with crime, it now refers to literature, it is equally inconclusive. So 4 and 1 go together. Then look at sentence 3. Number 1, it starts with but. Number 2, it refers to regardless of the conclusion of any particular piece of work, and the pieces of work are mentioned in the first sentence. Some work supports, some contradicts, but regardless of the conclusion, it is hard to establish convincing connection. So this 3 is connected with, hang on, I wrote 4 plus 1, should have been 4 plus 2. Why am I making, this is the second time that I've made a similar mistake in 3 days. I don't know why. I think I need to sit down, meditate, and then dive deeper. So anyhow, 4 plus 2 and then 1 plus 3. And since we already know that 4 needs to put immediately after the fixed sentence, the way we go on to arrange it will be writing it here. 4, 2, 1 and 3. So there you go. So dive deeper. Look at the importance of every clue and then move forward. Okay, and now here is more of your conventional Parajumble. Here are 5 sentences. Take your time, identify clues, pick up one clue at a time, use that clue to connect that sentence with something else. Once you've done that, pick up the next clue and eventually a sequence will emerge. Don't worry. And it won't take a lot of time, contrary to what we at times think. Okay, so go ahead, give it a shot. Ahan, I see a distinct scope of improvement in DILR, and you can definitely start getting 2-3 extra questions right in English. But Ahan, I think I'd suggest that you start with focusing on DILR That is where you are likely to get the maximum returns for your effort. So talk to one of our DILR faculty members. So maybe Gaurav sir, Naveen sir, Saral sir, any of those, and I'm sure they'll help you. You can also reach out to them through our Telegram group if somebody from the team is tuned in right now. I'm not very sure if they're around. In case you are there, can you also share the link of our Telegram channel? If you could please drop down the link, please. Manoj, you're feeling demotivated. Manoj, just think of what motivation is. Motivation is that energy which allows you to work. A lot of us think that motivation is a constant in our life. It is not. Motivation is just like taking a shower. We have to do it every day. Similarly, when it comes to motivation, it is a finite renewable resource. We need to motivate ourselves every day. And there are a lot of different ways you can tap into external sources of motivation, internal sources of motivation. Maybe read a self-help book every night before you go to sleep. Read 2-3 pages of a self-help book that resonates with you. And then every morning when you wake up, maybe read another 1 or 2 pages and then start your day. Apart from that, I also focus more on cultivating the right set of habits. It's important to make a lot of processes automated, where you don't have to spend a lot of time thinking. So I'm sure that approach will also prove useful for you. So let's see. So Ahan, just 2 things for you. Talk to DILR faculty member, and then in English, considering that you're getting 26, your accuracy rate should be below 70% at the moment. Look at your mistakes and try to identify a pattern, a trend. So there is a particular question type which you are getting wrong repeatedly. Identify that question type or those question types, share those with me, and then I can give you a very specific instruction. We have a good amount of time still. I can definitely help you move towards getting 1 or 2 question types right even now. So just bring them to my notice, and I will ensure that you start getting at least a couple of extra questions correct in the English section too, which will go a long way. So 2 questions that you get wrong, if you start getting them right, that means a difference of 8 marks. So 26 to 34, that's significant. Okay, so answers. No idea. Why would you sleep the whole day when you have to write a mock? I don't know. This is new. This is new. I mean, I don't think anybody has brought it to me saying कि यार मतलब there is some correlation between writing a mock and sleep. Why would that happen? I don't know. Check your nutrition first, huh? Are you getting enough protein, enough water, enough sleep? Just check these 3 things first, and then maybe we can take it up. Okay. So Vittal has shared his take. Virender has also shared his take. So here is my answer. So it seems that Virender and I do agree. And the reason is I've put 5 and 2 together for a very simple reason. Look at the ideas. 5th is saying gender is certainly a contributor to societal inequality, but it does not act independently of class. Okay. So we are saying that, okay, gender is a factor, but gender works along with class. And if you look at 2nd, it talks about the effect of class on gender. Now, if you compare 2 and 5, you would realize that both of them are talking about the same idea. 5th is general, generic. 2nd is specific. So whenever you see 2 sentences, 2 or more sentences for that matter, where one sentence is giving you that idea in a generic way, and the other one or the other ones are detailing that idea, elaborating upon that idea further, then normally the general idea, the sentence with the general idea should come before the sentences with specific idea. But there is an exception to it, and the exception is if the general idea is phrased as a conclusion or a reiteration, then the general idea comes afterwards. So because sentence number 5 is not phrased as a conclusion, how do you phrase it as a conclusion? You start using words like hence, thus, therefore, or expressions like in short, to sum up, to conclude. And how do you show reiterations? By using words like indeed. So because that is not happening, 5 and 2 go together. Thereafter, look at this but. And then look at 3, which says these two kinds of deprivation. So these two kinds of deprivations are mentioned here: class deprivation, gender discrimination. So I know that 3 comes after 4. Now this but helps you connect 2 and 4 together. And then when you say similarly, now suddenly sentence number 1 is talking about caste. So when you say similarly, caste plus class also has an impact. So you obviously need to finish your conversation of gender plus caste before you gender plus class before you move over to caste plus class, and therefore the sentence 1 has to come towards the end, and that is why we stick to 5 2 4 3 1. Okay, so that's the whole idea. Here is the next one. Question number 3 on the screen. Go ahead, give it a shot. Okay, so shall we start? So let's see. Notice such tests. So moreover, 4th is also talking about developing the very first set of such tests. So you have this 5 plus 4, and then look at first, which says since then. Intelligent tests have been mostly used to separate dull children from bright and to provide them with extra effort. So you have 1 coming in here. Now this is where there can be a bit of a confusion. But focus on 2. When you say in other words, intelligent tests give us a norm for each age. In 5, 4 and 1, are we talking about age? No. The only sentence where we are bringing in age is sentence number 3. And therefore 2, the only place that 2 can come is after 3. So 5, 4 and 1 had to come together. 3, I don't know, when I go from 1 to 3, it does not really make much sense. But 5, 4 and 1 definitely go together. 3 and 2 have to appear in that order. So what are we left with then? Basically 5, 4, 1, 3, 2. So a lot of us probably looked at just these tests and put 3 immediately after 5. But then the problem is, when you say since then, where would you really put it? It has to come after sentence 4. Otherwise that since then will make no sense. So 5, 4 and 1 are pretty watertight. 3 and 2 are pretty watertight. Why is 3 coming after 1? No real strong rationale. There is no real connection. But then, because of the rest of the clues, the only possibility that we are left with is 5, 4, 1, 3, 2. So if we could not arrive at this, maybe we missed out on some of these clues. So focus on those clues and I'm sure you'd be able to narrow it down to some answer. Right. Let's go ahead and work on the next one. Here it is. Just 4 sentences. This is one of those actual CAT questions. I think it has been taken from CAT 2007. Quite a few of these are actually previous year questions. What would you share as your answer? Read it carefully. It's a narrative structure. You are very familiar with narrative structures, so I'd expect you to get this one right. Sunny, if you put 1 after 4, where would you put 2? And then in 4, where is that time frame mentioned? Since then. Okay, so a lot of answers. Here is the right one. Now tell me. Some of us have put 2 before 3 for some reason, but then, look at 4. I asked for a popular shampoo mixture. Look at 3. He was wrapping up bottle of the mixture. And it is then that I groaned and inquired whether he could give me something for acute gastric cramp. Look at 2. 2 is talking about a prescription. Prescription is medicine. So, unless you have shared a problem, which in this case is acute gastric cramp, why will he go ahead and give you a medicine? So, 2 has to come after 3, and that is why 4, 3, 2, 1. And here is the next question. But you've anyway managed to get the rest of it right, so I won't need to get into that. So, question number 5 on the screen. What's your take? Lot of clues scattered around, I see. Okay, I see it. Huh. Okay, so let's see. I think the only tricky bit here is sentence 1, and you'd think where to put it. Some of us would want to put it towards the end. But then the problem is, look at first. It says, call it the third wave sweeping the Indian media. So I want to emphasize the use of wave. Look at 5th. 5th says the first came. First what? In the context of this paragraph, this has to be the first wave. But then, how would you know that it is the first wave that is being talked about? The only way to ensure that is to put 1 before 5. If you do not put 1 before 5, you wouldn't know which first is being talked about here. The moment I add the word wave, let's say if I add wave here, now I will not put 1 before 5. Now I would rather put it at the end. But as long as we do not have wave here, 1 has to be put before 5. So now 5th obviously talks about the first. So in the first wave, what is happening? Those magnificent men in their mahogany chambers who took on the world with their mighty fountain pens. This is basically editors. But then 4th says, then the media barons, the people who owned the companies, they wrested back control from their editors. and then look at second. Now we are talking about now. So there is a very clear sequence on the timeline that is emerging here. Let us see where to place 3. 3 says look around and you will find a host of deals that have been inked or are ready to be finalized. You notice second is talking about suave deal makers. Look around and you'd find a host of deals. So that connection helps us put 3 afterwards. So if we combine all of these together, we're gonna get 1, 5, 4, 2, 3. So this was tricky. There were 2 problems. The first problem is sentence 1 uses it, and a lot of us, despite my telling it to you time and again that see, do not think in terms of opening sentence, a lot of us still do that. So you look at it and like call it, अच्छा भाई it है, ये तो opening sentence नहीं होने का. Why? It can be an opening sentence. And the other is, you just look at the third in isolation and you may not look at the implication of using third wave and using just the first without the wave. Those were the tricky things in this particular question. Here is the next one. So once again, just 4 sentences, longish sentences. If you read them carefully, you should find some idea-based clues that should help you arrive at the answer. Okay, I see that. Let's see. Prasanna, there was no reference to it in the rest of the sentences. Why it can't be 3 and 5? Because 3 talks about deals. Let me just go back. Until these others are looking at the previous one, I can look at it. Why can't it be 3 and 5? Babu, 5 is not talking about deals at all. 5 is talking about people taking on the world with their pens, with their writing. Whereas 3 is talking about a host of deals being made. I don't even see a connection between the two, yeah? So you're absolutely right. 3 talks about deals, but what connects 3 and 5? So when you say pen is mightier than the sword in that sentence, are we literally saying that, the pen that is used to make deals, or are we talking about the written word? Okay, so in this particular sentence, in this particular paragraph, 2 and 3 go together. Why? 2 reasons. First is 3 is a more detailed version, more specific version of 2, and second, they're talking about the same thing. 2 is talking about something that was sold to the British public, and 3 is also talking about selling something to the British public, just using voters were informed. And then in first, when you say in the last 9 years, it has not worked, then obviously what has not worked is the suggestion that is given in 2 and 3. Where does 4 go? Meanwhile, the actual costs of many of the trimmings are only now being fully divulged. So of course it is better to put first before 4, because first says, see, these things have not worked. Meanwhile, the true costs are now coming out. So to say that it has not worked, you generally do that before you talk about the details are now emerging. So the best way to arrange them will be 2, 3, 1 and 4. So that's for question number 6. So that's where we will stop today. That's what I had brought for you today. So let's take a pause here, and in case you liked working on these questions with me, don't forget to like this video. And once again, a reminder that you're supposed to write the All India Open Mock if you've not done that yet. Besides, we are running this series called CAT 23 Crash Course, where a session happens at 7 p.m. every day here on YouTube as well as on the app. So whichever place is more convenient for you, do tune in, and we can talk about it. For even more practice, you can consider joining a test series which gives you loads and loads of stuff, as you can see here. And right now, if you have issues with some specific areas, for instance, somebody was asking about critical reasoning. Then you can unlock a free trial, no cost to you, and during those 3 days make sure that you go ahead and attend the initial few classes of verbal logic in one of our batches. I'm sure you'll find that immensely useful. Okay, and people who have attended those have actually, quite a few of those have gone on to get great percentiles, as you can see. So that's it from me today. I look forward to meeting you guys once again real soon. Until then, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch, and keep working hard. Just 3 more weeks, guys. That's all that we need to focus for, right? And we'd reach the other side. So take care, have fun, and I'll catch you soon. Have a great day ahead.